Hey guys, it's Doomed Friend. Really quick before the video started, I just want to clarify a couple things. One, a lot of times in this video I reference that it's an early game gun. The regular version is an early game gun, but the Prime version is mastery locked at mastery rank 8. So it still can be attained relatively early on, but the regular version has a lot of similar traits and is almost as good. So it's still a good gun to pick up. So the second thing I wanted to say is this is my last video of 2019. So yay, I guess. I'll be continuing to upload, so just keep in touch. Thirdly, I wanted to thank you guys for the support for this channel. It has really meant a lot that I'm able to do this with some of my free time. I really enjoy making videos, and I'm really enjoying providing you guys that content. So thank you guys, and please enjoy the video. And I will see you in the next video, which will be in 2020. Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Doomed Friend, and today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite secondaries, Lex Prime. Oh hey. I can say firmly that Lex Prime is definitely good. Obviously it gets outplayed by a lot of guns in the end game, but it's still definitely not a bad gun. So the first build I have is with a riven. So I have a second build that's without a riven, so that way you don't have to use a riven for the weapon to be effective. But this is my riven. It's a pretty decent riven. I got it back when the riven disposition was terrible, and now it's okay. So I actually have a pretty good roll there. This is without the riven. I recommend putting on steady hands because the recoil on this gun without it can be kind of insane. My riven actually helps with the recoil anyway, so I don't really have to worry about it, but steady hands will definitely work in a regular build. Mostly what I ran with here is a corrosive build. This gun, as you can see with the amount of puncture it does, this is just regular damage modifier. It doesn't have any puncture or anything. Its puncture is incredible, so it's really good against armored enemies. It has a decent amount of slash and impact, but really it shines against armored enemies. So I figured, throw on corrosive, and you can do work against specifically Grenier. It does excellent against Grenier. I was getting 7 shots pretty consistently. So this is without the riven. Again, these are level 115 enemies, so this is like late game. This is if you're staying in a survival mission for like hours upon hours, or you're doing probably arbitrations is where you're gonna kind of see something like this. Okay, so now I'm gonna head into an actual mission so you guys can see exactly how effective it is. I'm gonna go ahead and not use the riven config that I have. I want to be able to actually show off the gun in a way that people can actually get it, since the riven isn't always going to be the exact roll and it's not always obtainable. Though I did get a really good roll, and if you get damage and status chance or damage and crit chance, it works excellent on this gun. But again, I'm not gonna put the riven in this because I wanted to show you guys just kind of how it performs regularly. As you're kind of seeing, the gun actually does. This is Sedna, extermination on Sedna. Oh my gosh, if I was good at aiming. As you can see, this gun actually does pretty well. This is like one of the higher planets. I specifically picked this one because it only has Grenier. Though I have used it in the Void before because, armored enemies in the Void. If you want to bring this gun along with you to deal with some of the armored units, I would definitely suggest bringing something that's specifically good at targeting either flesh or shields, because while Lex Prime is amazing for targeting flesh as well because it's high status chance and crit chance and does decent damage against flesh, it definitely could use improvement in the shields area. So bringing along something like Amprex, which Amprex is just generally good, it'll be able to compensate for anything that the Lex Prime can't do. Regardless, even if you don't use this as like a main weapon, so you don't use this as like the weapon you bring to high level missions, it is definitely a really good supplement, and it's an extremely good weapon to try to get those secondary weapon kills whenever there's a bounty for them, because it does a lot of damage. If you're going into a sortie that says secondary weapons only, I'll often bring Lex Prime along with like Excalibur or something, because it just does, I mean, it just does a lot of damage. Has a really high crit chance, so you can run, I run target tracker and whatever the other crit one is, I'll flash it up on screen here. I run the primed versions, but before I got the prime versions, I ran the non-prime versions, and in fact the prime versions I'm using are actually not that much more upgraded, are not that much more upgraded from the regular versions, just because I haven't had time to actually invest into them, and I'd probably have to format this again. One problem, I used Corinth again. One problem you probably will see with the gun when I pulled it out in the build was that it requires, like, at least for mid to late game, it requires a lot of forma. So that's one thing that actually turns a lot of people off to the gun. For mid to late game, you're gonna have to forma this baby quite a bit. Now I like the gun, so I was fine formatting it 6 times, because as you can see, it does a lot of damage. Like I'm missing but 3-shotting this bombard. Ow. I probably could have brought a better frame for an extermination mission, but whatever. So same kind of thing applies. Does around 10,000 damage to the head against level 30s. Now obviously this is level 30s in an extermination mission on Sedna. If you're going to be staying in a longer defense or survival mission, I feel like whenever I play defense or survival, hey look, it's this guy, on Sedna or like interception or something, and I'm going in longer, I find that this gun starts to drop off around the 35 minute mark if you're going on like Sedna. And survival, waves, about the same thing. 30 waves is where I found where it started becoming less and less useful, but up until then it was doing pretty well. But yeah, so if you, I really don't understand the hate about this gun. I know a lot of people think it's decent and just not worth using, but if you haven't used this gun in a while and you have like a decent riven for it, I would highly suggest going back and just checking out the gun again, because the riven disposition was buffed, so the rivens actually do more. And if you're early on in the game and you received a Lex Prime part, or someone gave you Lex Prime and you were wondering if it's good to use, it can carry you pretty far in the game, given the right mods and everything. I would make sure, if you want to use full effectiveness, if you want to use the full effectiveness in it against Grenier, I would definitely make sure to try to put on corrosive, which is electricity and toxin damage. That's going to give you the best effect against Grenier specifically, but you could always run it with just like any other type of element, just because it does have a high status chance. If you wanted to be put on like just simply electricity, that wouldn't be a bad choice either. That way you can deal with shields and just corpus in general. So anyway, you probably either clicked on this video because you're interested in getting back into Lex Prime, or potentially because you're interested in using Lex Prime. For an early game gun, for an early game pistol, it's really not bad. The regular version Lex is still also pretty good, but Lex Prime itself just has that extra boost. As you can see, I build mostly status so I can get the corrosive and puncture and slash procs, but you can also run higher crit chance. These could be still upgraded. Pistol Gambit and Target Cracker, I guess I said Tracker earlier. Those can still be upgraded, and my Hornet Strike can still be upgraded. And when you go over to my riven can still be upgraded. My riven does much better, but it's still a gun worth investing in. Yeah, I had to forma it quite a few times to make it good, and you probably would have to do the same if you want to equip some of these higher end mods like the primed mods, or even if you have a riven. You may need to deal with that aspect, but if you acquire it early game, you throw on Hornet Strike, and you could probably get Lethal Torrent or Barrel Diffusion for relatively cheap, but you can also get like Pathogen Rounds and Convulsion, uh, and stuff along those lines pretty early on, and they still do well. Again, if you don't have a Riven with recoil, something like Steady Hands might be nice, especially if you're running Lethal Torrent, because it increases the fire rate. Steady Hands would make it actually manageable, and since you have that extra slot, I would go ahead and just chuck that on there. But this gun just works really well. You probably want to build, if you're early on in the game, probably just want to build for crit chance and crit multiplier. So try to get that crit up, just because that's what's going to carry you the best early game. You'll definitely want to start investing in some of the status stuff, but early on, like up until you get to probably even Saturn, you could run with just crit and do just fine. This gun hits like a truck with the right mods. Anyway, guys, again, that was Lex Prime. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see me review a different weapon, I have a ton, and I have made pretty decent builds on a whole bunch of different weapons. You can see Corinth and Meyer I have in my inventory, my loadout right now. I like both of those. But if you want to see any of my other builds, or you want to see just how to build some weapons to make them at least viable mid to late game, let me know. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out, bro.